Each only wants to.
That way.
Save money today. I didn't see anybody. I didn't venture in now.
Coffee names changed. It might want it.
That makes sense.
It's getting tired.
Me too.
I'm starting to just go next week. It doesn't cause any pain, but they don't cause any pain. Abs, core, my legs, and this leg is a lot weaker than this leg. That's why I dragged this leg. I started dragging this leg again. I'm just going to bring up the attorney, the local attorney represents.
Call forward to meeting order. Roll call, please.
Member Donnie Bryant.
Present.
Member Aaron Cook.
Here.
Member Bill Bruner. Member Mario Todd.
Here.
Assistant Police Chief Mike Lanning.
Here.
Fire Chief Johnny Tremaine.
Here.
EMS Director Bobby Mills.
Here.
Attorney Leslie Votaw. Here. Utility Director Mel Davis.
Here.
Mayor Dennis Carr. And myself.
Announcements? Hearing none, approve minutes of the meeting. So. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Committee reports. Fire Department, John Tremaine.
Mayor, I don't have anything tonight. I just ask everybody to keep Wright Fire Department in their thoughts and prayers. They lost their assistant chief, Tom Stevens, this morning to possible heart attack. That's all I have.
Police Department, Mike Lanning.
No report, Mayor.
EMS, Bobby Mills.
And our total road count for February was 146. That's all I have.
New business, Mike Clark, geotechnical material test inspection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Last meeting, we had the bid opening for those services. Each of you have a complete composite of the 3 bidders. As you'll see on there, there were 120 lines or services, and Cardno was low on 82 of the 120 lines. Terracon was low on 22 of the 120 lines, and Civil Solutions was low on 16 of the 120 lines. It would be my recommendation that Cardno has the best and lowest bid for those services. I would recommend that you award the contract to them. I do have one request above them beyond that. I would also ask that you would accept all 3 as a master service agreement in case one was occupied or busy, that we could call on the next one or the third one, whatever, to be able to get those services done in a timely manner.
I had one question. I had somebody call me about that. They said basically that the bids weren't legit if they weren't read out loud at a public meeting. I don't know if I believe that's true or not.
As far as
The bids weren't read out loud at the last meeting. They'd be in the packet.
Mike, you and I talked about that. What did you find out about?
And there again, have been over the years a multitude of bids, large bids with a lot of numbers, where it's not just a single lump sum price. That during the bid opening, you make sure that everyone has submitted all the required information, and it's standard practice then to take it under advisement, try to go through and tabulate and come.
I know we did the same thing for the landscaping. I mean, we take it under advisement, but if they're read, each line's read out loud. I just wanted to ask Leslie, because I heard that it's not legal to do that, but I'll get your opinion on that.
I would have to look into that. I did not think that, as far as, it was an issue last time, but I definitely will, I can get back to you on that. What did you find out?
Yeah, I heard, they told me that it wasn't legal, so that's why I was going to ask.
Who's they?
I'm not
Right
sure.
here.
Okay.
I can approach the podium. Co-counsel,
Where did you get your information from?
state statute. 36-1-12-5B2 for less than 50,000. 50,000 to 150,000 would be 36-1-12-4.7B2. Over 150,000 would be 36-1-12-4B7. And then 36-1-12-16, if you read that statute, it'll tell you if those bids are not read aloud in a public meeting, therefore they are void.
Okay, so,
And Ms. Pope did ask for those numbers.
This research, is that something that you can provide? I mean, this is
I
something
just
that
provided
could have been brought up as far as to an email to me or anything like that when you put this on the agenda tonight?
Well, co-counsel asked for those numbers that night.
Okay.
And what was said was, there's too many numbers to read them. But, I mean, I didn't write this.
So do you think the numbers were changed? Is that the concern?
I think they make that law for that reason.
Let me ask, Mike, would you be willing to sign an affidavit stating that you didn't change the numbers?
Absolutely.
I think what he's saying has to be read. You got a question in the back, Your Honor? I didn't know let this happen at the end of the meeting.
Oh, I can find out.
I think that he's talking about, we submitted, all the contractors or consultants, professional service companies submitted unit rate schedules. It's not an actual bid, and it's not a contractor bid, so I don't believe he's stating the correct statute for this process. It's a professional service, unit rates for, it was not a specific project, but it was unit rates that were presented for different types of services that they use throughout the year. So I think we may need to go back and review the exact statutes, and it may be relating more to a contract for a single particular project bid opportunity. So I think there's a difference.
We'll review it, and if it is something that's going to have to be resubmitted, we'll do that. But it was my understanding on these, well, I looked at it briefly. I did not go into the statutes as far as looking at, what the case law says. But we'll just get to table this and.
So does the professional service differ?
The unit contract, I know there is language in there about unit contracts and professional services, but without looking at those particular statutes, we can take a recess and I can do so.
Only just table us, we find out. And then
Can I ask a question? Can we just, in doing so, tabling, can we just maybe have an opportunity to come in and look and compare these numbers to the packets that you have?
Absolutely.
Make sure that they're all what it says it is?
Sure.
I think we're seeing it has to be read out loud.
I understand that. I just, as far as, changing numbers or whatever.
If that's the statute that's applicable to the unit contract. If it is not, it's under a master service agreement, and they're geotechnical engineering services, that might be different than the statutes that Mr. Lawrence has provided tonight.
I'd like to comment on his other request that, if we're going to bid on a contract, I'd like to see them do the work and not, because these contracts, you want a 24-hour notice, you need to let them know, so they can prepare.
Donnie, that's fine. I was just looking at all scenarios that, hey, if we had, this firm was tied up and couldn't get here when we did the service, then we already have prices through this process that we could go to. But if you guys don't want to do that, that's your option.
I'll table this so I get everything right. Entertain motion to table. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Mike, 2013-7 improvement contract.
Yeah, last year we bid out an alley improvement project, mostly in part due to some stormwater runoff issues. We put that on hold because of a project that Proximo was working on last year, and they notified us last week that they have either closed or have signed contracts on all of the properties adjacent to that alley. Of course, their plans are for future development, and I don't think it would be wise to spend money on rebuilding an alley and have them a month from now or 2 months from now go in and they're going to request a vacation of that alley and probably tear out the existing alley and hopefully add some more rooftop and some new jobs to the city. So,
Do we have any update on where they are in that process?
yeah, they have, they're closing on properties, and they have every property under contract. So,
And that whole stretch right there?
Yes.
You had a water problem?
yeah. So, and like I say, they're gonna come in here before too long and request an alley vacation, because they're gonna own both sides of the alley, and, hopefully they'll put a big building up on it, hire a few more.
That's just gonna be the alleyway and the street, parts of the street.
Yeah, part of Second Street, I believe, maybe a little in the First Street.
I think we should just table it to the next meeting or a few months or?
Well, I don't, honestly, they've got all the properties. I have talked with the contractor that was awarded the bid. Of course, they're not thrilled about losing out on a job, but they understand. I think that I need something from this board so I can officially notify them in writing that that project has been pulled and we're not going to complete it.
Entertained motion?
Yeah, so move on that.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All against? Everybody voted.
Thank you.
Old business, Leslie Rosenthal, Grand Beach contract.
The appropriation was passed, all but $142. And Jackie is aware of that, and she can move $142 from a different fund if the board so chooses. I think we probably have to bring that in front of council, but if it were a lot more money, $14,000 or something, then an additional appropriation, but the $142 is something that she can transfer from one line item to cover that loss. I think she did talk to Bob about that, so this is ready to be voted on tonight.
The only question I have, Leslie, is on paragraph 2. It says, in terms of employees' employment here under shall commence on this blank day of January.
Well, most all the other contracts have gone on a yearly basis, on a calendar year basis. That's totally up to you all.
I didn't know if you could do that or not.
That would be totally up to you. If you want to start it today, that'd be fine too. I think there was one contract that started the date that you guys actually signed it.
So we get to change this to 17th
March to March.
Okay.
Any more from board? Entertained motion? Make that the table.
Recommendation, that's on the council.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, this is your decision. This is a contract. As far as the $142.
$142 for the appropriation.
You could do a contingent based on $142 being transferred, but that transfer could happen internally in the clerk's office, so it's not.
Voting, Jamie.
If I remember correctly, there's only a $60 difference from the appropriation. Where you're coming up with the 142, I don't know.
It's 142.
The budget book shows $82,560.
Right, and the 85,202, you subtract those two, that comes up to 2642, and the appropriation was only done for 2,500, so there's $142. I just did the math right before we sat down.
Give me the numbers again.
85,202 is the new contract amount.
No, the new contract amount accounting to the budget book is 85,260.
No, it's 85,202. And
You got a different budget book than I got.
82,560 is 2,642.
Where are you
minus
getting your numbers
25.
at?
Dane, these are the numbers. We've gone over it 16 times.
I brought my budget book in for 3 meetings to show you and prove to you what the numbers were, and you still come up with a different number.
I have mine in back chain if you want to borrow.
Will you go get it, please, so we can show her what the budget book says for his salary?
Break for 1 minute.
Let's take 5 minutes recess.
dismal where we went down to each one.
Session.
Haven't found it yet, Mayor. This is dated October 21st. This is dated October 28th. Under October 28th, Mayor's Assistant Redevelopment Director, $82,560.
And then the new contract is for 85,202. Okay? The difference between that, what the appropriation was done for, is, that's the difference between is 2642.
We didn't appropriate what you put in the contract. We only appropriated
2,500.
So you can't jump up and raise it without us appropriating it. We don't appropriate the other money.
It's
All we're owing is $60.
It's 142, Jane. You can do the math. 85,202 is the new contract amount. 82,560 is what was budgeted.
This is what we approved. 82,560. How did we get the higher amount? When we did the contract, we raised the salary.
The contract that they're looking to do right now. And so, and Jackie's already done an addition.
It didn't come before council for appropriations for that extra.
Yes, it did. Last time.
They asked 82,500. 2,500. And I
2,500.
voted no against it because she didn't get the numbers right. Should have been 82, should have been 2,560, and she only put the appropriation for 2,560. So now in order to get the other 142, she'd have to come back and ask us for $142.
Yes.
So we only approved 82,560.
Plus 2,500. Because 2,500 was the additional appropriation that went through, was that last council meeting?
Yeah, so that brings him up to 82,000. $82,500. That's all we owe him, $60.
But the contract, according to the contract, the new amount is 85,202. That's the difference. If you took 85,202 minus that number, you'd still get $142. Okay.
How did you write a contract for more money than this church paid?
The contract is now after the appropriation, Jane. After the additional appropriation.
You wrote the contract after appropriation.
Right, and we tabled this until the
appropriation. Well, I owe him $142 more, but if you don't get your $142, he's gonna stay at 82,500. She didn't even write the appropriation number right. And his board should approve it based on what we budgeted his salary for. But that's up to you. Thank you, Aaron.
Make a motion to approve it on legal counsel opinion.
No, your motion will pass was that will be sent to council. Yeah, and that's not applicable. You are the ones that will decide whether or not to accept this contract. And if you do it, you sign it. Look on page 5. Okay. As far as the $142, that doesn't need to go in front of council. But it's something that doesn't have to need an additional appropriation. It's something that can be transferred into internally in Jackie's office. That's what I was told. That's why I brought it back in front of you.
We can verify with state board, but I believe you can transfer within the same fund. You guys paid out to before.
I'll rescind my motion.
Okay, I have a motion. We do your motion, Tom.
I'm making a motion,
You need
we
to
pay
rescind the
it,
motion, you need a second.
accept the contract
Second.
under legal counsel.
Hold on.
Bill first. Second.
That was a recession of the motion. Now you can do this motion. And we're gonna do it from March to March, correct? Or March to.
March to this date.
I make a motion, we accept the contract.
Bill second.
Second.
All in favor? All against? Ayes have it. Do discuss claims board approval. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Motion adjourned. Thank you. Going to go to 5 minutes.
After you tell me.
Could be 7, could be 8,
Caution 2 board meeting order. Roll call, please.
Member Jane Pope. Present. Member Aaron Cook.
Here.
Member Bill Brunner. Member Mike Lawrence.
Here.
Member J.R. Holcraft. Attorney Leslie Botaw.
Here.
Utility Director Mel Davis.
Here.
Mayor Dennis Carr.
Here.
And myself.
The announcements. Hearing none, approve minutes, please, meeting.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Committee reports.
Thank you, Your Honor. The board, I forget how long ago it was, but some time ago, agreed to let Aurora Cemetery have the old dump truck. That's ready to be transferred.
Okay. I have a release.
Okay.
Actually, just dug that off my desk today and I
And
saw
that was
it.
going to be my question. Does Aurora Group need to come down to Jackie's for the transfer of the title and all that stuff?
I mean, how have you guys handled that before?
We've never given a truck away before on utilities, I don't know.
I'd say she has.
Donnie, what happened with yours when you?
We did the Southeastern Career Center, I think, she signed the title and then you met with Ben Sieverdeen. Yeah, I'd probably bring it down to Jackie's office.
Mel, can you make sure that they call before they come?
Yeah. Yes,
Because I don't know where they.
Well, I will make sure I can get that release. It's just a one-page thing, so.
Okay, all right, thank you. All of our projects are going well, thank goodness. The weather appears to have finally broken. We had a pickup a couple weeks ago. The pipeline contractor got into a phone cable along Purple Road. So other than that, the projects are going well. That's all I have.
All announced. I was without a phone to operate my business for like 3.5 days. I got to turn it in, I was made one. So it wasn't easy to operate a business without a phone system. Especially 24-hour phone.
I made them aware of it.
Okay. Any new business? Hearing none, old business? Let's go to utility director Lawrenceburg.
I did speak with Karen Arlen, who is at Ice Miller on this matter. Our, as Mr. Lawrence pointed out, our ordinance is contrary to the statute for the utility board. There's lots of boards, including Public Works Safety Board, the Parks Board. There are certain exceptions to who the mayor still appoints, but it is subject to the utility board's approval. So if you want to look at that statute, it's 36492. So just wanted to clear that up. I looked at the statute, wanted to make sure our ordinance does say that the mayor does appoint the utility director. I think probably an amendment to that ordinance should put subject to the approval of the utility board or the Board of Works. I mean, because it does provide a utility board can be extinguished at some point and the Board of Works can be it. So I think that would be prudent. Go ahead.
So you said the Board of Works?
As far as, it does provide in our ordinance that the utility board can be, the Board of Works can be the utility board as well, under our ordinance.
But that's our ordinance.
At this point, it's not that way because the utility board is council, but. We're just saying generally, so in the future, if you know, if the utility board was Board of Works, that it would cover that as well, that's all I'm saying.
You discuss finance board approval?
I have a question. Actually, it's on payroll. I was just curious from the 2 weeks it's in here, there's a difference of $13,491.32. Those two pay periods. That's just quite a bit. I was just curious of.
What month is it?
February. Well, actually February 28th through March 3rd, and the 7th through the 10th.
I can have an answer for you.
Or no, ending the 7th, I guess.
And clothing allowance, I
Check
think
was
that's in
covered.
there.
Could be clothing allowance.
Partly.
Yeah, but I'll have an answer for you tomorrow.
Well, would they put the clothing allowance in the gross?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, because it is taxable.
It was just a big difference, so I'm curious.
It is taxable.
Entertained a motion?
I got, was a comment to make on that. Mel, was there overtime during those two payroll periods too that could account for some of that money?
I'm sorry, Jane.
Was there overtime that could account for some of that extra spending?
Not that much. There was some, but like I say, if you don't want to answer it,
Okay, thank you.
One more. Entertained a motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned. Second. Second. All in favor?
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Member Jane Coe. Present. Member Aaron Cook.
Here.
Member Bill Bruno. Member Mike Lawrence.
Here.
Member J.R. Holcraft.
Here.
Assistant Police Chief Mike Lanning.
Here.
Fire Chief Johnny Tremaine.
Here.
EMS Director Bobby Mills.
Here.
Attorney Leslie Votaw. Utility Director Mel Davis.
Here.
Mayor Dennis Carr.
Here.
And myself.
Any announcements?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to thank Bobby Mills' EMT department. There was an incident at my house. My husband had an allergic reaction to some antibiotics he was on. It was very, very frightful. He couldn't breathe. His tongue kept swelling. I called 911 immediately, and to me it sounded like felt like it took them forever to get there, but they did. They got there in a timely manner. They responded. My husband was at the point where he couldn't even talk, he couldn't even get air down his throat. He was even thinking about giving himself an emergency tracheotomy so he could continue to breathe. And George Ross and Rhonda Trentman, in a timely manner, pulled up to the house. George walked my husband to the squad, gave him a shot on scene, and I kept, I had a niece and nephew there and a sister-in-law, and Jake was there. Everybody knows Jacob Junk. I said, Jacob, why aren't they moving him? Why aren't they taking him up the hill? He can't breathe, he can't breathe. Why aren't they getting him up the hill? And Jake took the prescription medicine out to the squad and gave it to Bobby or Rhonda, and Jake came back in and said, Jane, they're treating him on site at the scene. And I didn't know our paramedics or our EMTs were capable of doing that. So they actually got my husband stabilized in front of my house within 5 to 10 minutes. They gave him the injection, they got him on the IV, and they got him up to the hill. And Rhonda watched over him, and gradually his swelling went down, his tongue went down, and they basically handled it. And the doctor just came in and said okay and cleared everything. And I just want to thank Bobby Mills that you have led your paramedics or your EMTs to be able to do things like this. You know, the time to get him up the hill, the time to get him in the hospital, the time to get him seen by a doctor could have made a huge difference. And I think Rhonda and George and all of the paramedics, are they actually classified as paramedics now or still EMTs?
No, we're intermediate 99 as of right now.
But right now you're studying to be full paramedics.
Yes, they are.
And it's wonderful. And everybody in the city of Lawrenceburg ought to be grateful for our EMT program. And thank you, Bobby, and thank George and thank Rhonda for us too.
I will pass that on.
Thank you.
Become paramedics, you do a lot more.
I know, it's wonderful.
You know a lot more. Thank you, Bob. Approve minutes, previous meeting.
I got one comment, Mayor. Page 2. We go all the way down. 1, 2, 3, well, we'll go all the way down, almost to the bottom where it says motion to forgive interest due. We made a motion to forgive $25,000 of the county, not interest. If they paid in full, we made a motion, if they paid in full within the next 30 days, we would forgive $25,000, not the entire amount of the interest.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else, James?
Check here.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
On the last page, the motion to approve all claims and release checks except those for APV 792 and 854. Were those claims held?
I can answer that question, Mr. Lawrence, if I have permission from the mayor.
Go ahead.
Both of those claims were paid and mailed out. One was mailed out 2 weeks prior to our approval. The second one was mailed out 1 week prior, 2 weeks prior to our disapproval. The first one was. The second one was mailed out 1 week prior to our disapproval. So yes, they have been paid. They have been mailed. The people's received them. And I was told that the State Board of Accounts was supposed to take action, and Suzanne was supposed to handle that. And Suzanne, how did you handle that? Did you get our money back, or did you hold the check?
I was never told to handle anything.
That's the State Board of Accounts. Okay.
State Board of Accounts is looking into it, I know, but that's your Jackie and State Board of Accounts, not me.
I also talked to Ron Robertson, he's looking into it, and I think they're cutting more from the thing, you know, how you know, these things can be handled in the future, so, but they are looking into it and won't know anything until we get whatever they come back with.
So nobody has an answer why she mailed them before it was approved or disapproved?
According to the contract, they were supposed to be paid a deposit by February 17th, I believe, in one of them. That was the one I think was paid around that time.
Those contracts can be canceled at any time. I got them both right here with notice.
But otherwise, the non-payment, asking for them to send it back at this point is not, there's a valid contract, so.
Yeah, but if they cancel the contract before the event, they have to mail the money back. You have 60 days before the event to cancel the contract in both of them.
Okay, to mail it back. But at this point, they are aware of the situation. It is Paul Murray who's all the rides and Danny Davis who does all of the production, and they're well aware of the situation. So we really need to wait until we get direction from the State Board of Accounts.
But I looked at them and said you can cancel them with notice without prejudice.
Like when something like this is done and claims are mailed out, is there a statute that says that person would be personally responsible?
There are certain circumstances where that is, but I did bring that statute to their attention because I think under that statute, the chairman of the executive committee is the one who filed the claim, which was the mayor. And it does say an official with the jurisdiction to approve such claims. So that's what they're looking into specifically. It says the legislative board or the legislative body or board or official having jurisdiction to approve those claims. So.
I just want to make a comment for the record, that all claims and invoices except those that are due to the federal government or we're on a monthly basis contract with.
There's a list in the ordinance.
Right. But those are the only ones that should be mailed out. I have been checking claims and invoices for over 2 years. I have yet to see a check held.
But the difference is in this situation, the money was already appropriated, and there are valid contracts out there that these monies were due under. So it is a little different than your normal claim that comes up, your normal claims that come up. So,
Now, what about if there's not a line item specifically appropriated for that contract?
no, it wouldn't be. Under, what you appropriated was to the Fall Fest Committee, just like what you appropriate to Main Street, just like you appropriate to the community center. I mean, those funds.
Does it say Fall Fest Committee, or does it just say Fall Fest?
I believe
I think it says Fall
Fest.
Can I interject for just a second? We do hold claims there. We have a holding slot for them. So we do hold them other than Comcast or CenturyLink, the monthly, unless we're given specific information to mail one, but they are held, every one of those.
I've just never seen them.
Well, we don't have them out
I know.
for you to view, but I can show you anytime you like.
Make a motion to approve with the correction.
Aye.
Minute reports. Big eyes, curves, and truck.
Just two questions. One is for Mike Clark. I noticed the one block that already has the 2-hour parking sign. Are you going to go out either the other 2 hours?
Right now, the problem area was that one block area. That was the main thing we're trying to get taken care of now. Unfortunately, our sign guy is actually still off
He's still off,
of
okay.
work with an injury. We had some of the maintenance crew where they had filled in, took care of the problem area. And, we will eventually get them all there, but right now, we just want to address, want to fix what was broken.
Yeah, the next area like most calls about is like right across from Leslie's office down there, that area.
Okay, and as soon as he gets back.
No hurry.
Yeah, I mean, he had a knee replacement, and then he fell on the ice and broke his kneecap. So,
Between Short and Walnut and from, on High, between Short and Walnut, and then from, what is that, Mary to the next block down.
basically
Yeah.
two blocks plus or minus each direction.
Should be
back to work 2 weeks. Yeah.
Mary to Line, what it is. And then the other question is, I'm still wondering, when High Street's gonna be repaid? Because you guys were looking at, I think, April, May before, but.
They're probably gonna be shoved back, probably closer to June, July.
Okay. That was only 2 months. Yep.
Finance, G.R. Holcraft, reports in. Yes.
I had one thing for Mike.
Yeah.
The stop sign in West Street. I guess we'll get it, I don't know, but it was.
Okay, that one I actually need to contact NDOT about that. Those are their jurisdictions, but I'll put a call into them tomorrow.
Like all those, they have the square.
That's probably who took it out, was in
But, yeah, I'll put a call into them.
okay.
Fire department, no report there.
Police department.
No report there.
Fire Chief John Lane.
Just like in the border works, just everybody keeps it in their thoughts for Bragg Fire Department and the loss of Chief Stevens. Family's going through a lot. I believe his visitation and funeral's gonna be Thursday, so that's all I got.
You know, Bob Mills. Building Department, Paul Frank. New business, St. Lawrence School, Sharon, Danvers, donation.
I need a handout.
Well, as you can read in the letter, my name's Sharon McAndrew, and I'm just representing St. Lawrence School, specifically our theatrical group called the Panther Players. We do an annual production, a spring production. This year we're doing Willy Wonka Jr. This is our 8th year that we've done the production. This is my first year. I'm new to it. I'm the producer of the play this year. And our cast members range from 3rd through 8th graders. It's a great way to enhance the kids' talents in the arts. Just does a great job of building their self-esteem. It's also another great way for the community to enjoy something family-friendly and very economical. We do 3 shows the second weekend in May, and parents put forth some money for the kids to support the production, as well as we ask for patrons. And I'm coming to you tonight just to ask for sponsorship for a production. We've got it broken down a couple different levels. As a production sponsor, this covers the cost of our show kit to do the production, which provides the script and the scores for the cast members, or as a theatrical sponsor, which covers the rental cost of our theater at Lawrenceburg High School, as well as the sets and props.
I have a question, Mayor. Is this something that could possibly go through the school endowment?
No, sir.
Because I know I'm on the school endowment, and I know there's a organization through the high school, and they had a play and stuff, and they put in for it. So
Okay.
I'm sure it can. My question is, since it's St. Lawrence, can it? But I don't know why it couldn't. Yeah, but I thought that there got the endowment. I was thinking that there was something that came one time for St. Lawrence that went through the endowment. Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I would think that this could,
Okay.
I think this could be applied through the school endowment. Just because, once again, our funds, are getting down.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure this is something that could go through the endowment. It's the 3rd Thursday of the month, which there's not going to be one, I don't believe, until April.
Okay. I would just need to attend that meeting then to present.
Well, you need to contact, I guess, Bill Harvey,
Okay.
or, I can't think of her name, over to the foundation. Maybe call the foundation and
Okay.
just ask for the lady that's on the school endowment.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I wouldn't bring it.
That's okay. The school endowment. Okay. Okay.
But I'm pretty sure that you should be able to go through the endowment.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
General office, donation for youth bowling league.
Hi, my name is Gary Rothfuss. I'm in Durban Bowl. Just asking for the continuation of a donation from the city. It's beginning to our youth league bowl Saturday mornings. Roughly 60 to 75 kids in the program. The amount is $1,000. It's been given for years to the kids. Goes 100% back to the kids for their party at the end of the year trophies. It's used to hold the cost of bowling down for the parents, people in Lawrenceburg. And that's about it. Just asking to renew that.
Now, are those just local kids?
Yes.
That can do that?
Yeah.
As I can speak at the end of January. 1408. 1408.
Was it 280? It's the very first number.
280.
end of February, 16,000, and we do have updated reports. We'll get those out to you in the next meeting. There's 16,000 left in there. End of February.
Goes down to about 80% roughly.
Right.
Remaining.
Right. As a matter of fact, as of today, I went ahead and handwrote this, 15,500 remains in there, so 500 was taken out of there in March sometime.
What about, all locals or for the kids? Is that something that could come out of city marketing?
$1,000.
I make a motion for the Junior Youth League, Bowling League to receive $1,000 from, you call it, Mike? City Marketing.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? You still bowling?
Yeah, I wish. Thanks.
I bowled in it many moons ago myself.
So a lot of us
I was a
bowled in it.
junior leaguer.
And kids bowled in it.
Council desire to support the rate crisis active, so state government.
I'm Kathy Dwyer. I'm with the Rape Crisis Support and Advocacy Program of the Community Mental Health Center. We provide support and advocacy services for survivors of rape, sexual assault, dating, and domestic violence. We are here tonight asking for your support monetarily in order to provide services for our survivors and also to help us with an event that we put on called Take Back the Night. Take Back the Night is a national campaign giving voice to sexual crimes and ending sexual violence. We've held this 8 consecutive years now, and we hold it at the Dearborn Adult Center, and we have the Clothesline Project on display. The Clothesline Project is a worldwide campaign giving voice to violence against women everywhere, so it's a beautiful tribute to the courage of survivors everywhere. Our shirts now number over 50, and every shirt was made by a survivor in our service area. In the previous years, you have generously supported us with a $1,000 donation. If you could see your way clear to match that this year, we would greatly appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions?
I was curious if, I noticed you've never applied at the foundation.
The Community Mental Health Center as a whole applies at the foundation. Our individual program is supported by the Community Mental Health Center, so funds from the foundation, but also through a federal grant. So anything that we do outside of your typical work that goes for survivors, we have to go out and raise money for. And because the Community Mental Health Center goes to the foundation, we don't go there.
Does the county donate any money?
No. No.
Have you ever approached them?
I don't know.
It might be a good idea if you approach them.
And we will, thank you. This year, our federal funding has been drastically cut. And so that's one reason, I don't think we came last year, that's why we're back, because we need to make up some of those funds. So we definitely will go to the Dearborn County Council and several other places too.
Because the funding coming in Lawrenceburg has been cut off bad too.
That's what you've done for us in the past, yes.
Council donations.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against?
Thank you very much. And Take Back the Night is April 10th, so if you're available, please come. It's at 5:30 at the Dearborn Adult Center, and it will be a great evening because our topic is internet crimes against children and teens. So it's a good topic and very informative for everyone in the public. It's free, dinner is provided, so thank you all very much.
Thank you for all you do for the community.
Mike Clark, Chapter 152, Flood Prevention.
Thank you, Your Honor. In your package, you've all received a revised Chapter 152 Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance. This has been mandated by IDNR and FEMA. We've already taken this in front of the Plan Commission. They have certified this and forwarded to this board for your approval. What it is, they have remapped the entire state of Indiana for the flood damage and the firm maps. And the maps, we've received them here recently. They go into effect on April 16th, the new maps do. This is something I've actually been working back and forth with DNR since December. The state has a boilerplate that we just plug in our local information to for this. We've done this. We've sent it back to IDNR. They have redlined it, graciously marked out any typos or clerical errors. They made my job a lot easier. Sent it back. This is a revised code. There's very little difference from the old code that was most recently updated in 1995. It's slightly different format because the state has changed their format, but it's basically the same information. This is something that we have to get approved before April 16th, or we've received letters that if we don't do this, we'll be kicked out of the FEMA program. And there again, if there were any flood catastrophes or actually any tornadoes or anything else, we would not be eligible for any assistance. There again, hopefully you guys have had time to read through this over the weekend. If you have any questions on it, please ask now.
My main concern is, and I'm glad you explained what you explained earlier, this is basically what the state guidelines are set up to be.
Yes.
And they put them to you in a manner.
Yeah, they gave me a boilerplate, and then I just plugged in our local information.
Because this is a lot of information. A lot of.
Well, there was a letter that was sent by FEMA to the mayor, just reminding us, and I think they send it monthly.
I think we get one every week, actually.
Go ahead, Leslie.
No, the NFI, it's the National Flood Insurance Program regulations. That's what they have done, have made, that we have to meet or exceed the minimum NFIP requirements. And it is, like Mike said, it is set up differently than our current statute, because there are some different, I just can't say it out tonight, I'm sorry. Some different definitions that they put in there.
Yeah, I mean, they've updated their format, and they're getting some of the local information. We have a plan commission that regulates this. Some communities don't have a plan commission, so they have a flood prevention committee. You know, that was some of the local information. Well, I put in our plan commission information. Other than that, the only difference is we do now have provisions that if someone, they can request a variance to put a wet flood-proof structure in, which will go through the Plan Commission and the BZA. And a good example of that is down at McCabe's, their greenhouses. Okay, for him to put up a new greenhouse, he would have to go through the variance process to be able to put a structure up, because his area is in the floodplain, that floodwaters can come up and recede out without any mechanical intervention. Other than that, it reads a little different, but it's basically the same as our existing code. And if there are no further questions, Suzanne, do you have a ordinance number for this one?
I do not, but looks like on the agenda, Jackie has underneath that, have additional appropriations. That's an ordinance and it is numbered. I'd hate to give you the next number in case that's not right though. We can tentatively say that it's number 3, unless somebody knows what number 3. So I just an additional appropriation, which would be the 2,500. That's fine.
Okay.
This is 2. She's got here. Okay. It's just additional appropriation and additional appropriation ones that are in there, right? This one.
I guess my main concern is with what we got going on with FEMA and the situation with the levy, that this is what we need to do and we're doing it correctly.
Yeah, Jane, unfortunately, this is one item that we're basically mandated on with about that much wiggle room. I mean, it's all prescribed by FEMA and the state.
And Leslie, you have reviewed this, and it needs...
They'll suspend us from the NFIP, which is National Flood Insurance.
Yeah, they're giving...
Regulations, which is not a good thing.
But everything else that's going on, if we don't get this, it's not gonna matter anyway, Jim.
AB said we're gonna be just fine.
I got all my faith in you. But,
I'm pointing at Paul at this point.
Unfortunately, we have to read it if you guys are going to go ahead and do it.
You have to read all this?
Suzanne, I don't know if you're gonna read it since Jackie's not here, but the first page is the index. You don't have to read the very first page.
Let's tell them to do it.
But you are reassuring me that we're going by what state and FEMA recommends.
We have to do this.
You went through hoops and all that other stuff to make sure.
Yeah, like I say, I started working on this in December, going back and forth between the state. And there again, we have to have this done to where we have it approved, so it is effective on January 16th, or else we're... Or April 16th, or else we're out, basically we're out of the program.
Now I'm gonna take you out at your word on that. Want me to help you read it?
That's okay, I got it. So I need a motion there, right?
Need a motion to read ordinance number 3, 2014.
Second. All in favor?
Ordinance for flood hazard areas for City of Lawrenceburg, ordinance number 3, 2014. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Lawrenceburg, Indiana as follows. 15201, statutory authorization, findings of fact, purpose, and objectives. A, statutory authorization. Indiana legislature has in Indiana Code 3674 granted the power to local government units to control land use within their jurisdictions. Therefore, the City Council of the City of Lawrenceburg does hereby adopt the following floodplain management regulations. B, findings of fact. 1. The flood hazard areas of the City of Lawrenceburg are subject to periodic inundation, which results in the loss of life and property, health and safety hazards, disruption of commerce and governmental services, extraordinary public expenditures for flood protection and relief, and impairment of the tax base, all which adversely affect public health, safety, and general welfare. 2. These flood losses are caused by the cumulative effect of obstructions of floodplains, causing increases in flood heights and velocities, by the occupancy in flood hazard areas by uses vulnerable to floods or hazardous to other lands which are inadequately elevated, inadequately flood-proof, or otherwise unprotected from flood damages. See statement of purpose. It is the purpose of this ordinance to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare and to minimize public and private losses due to the flood conditions in specific areas by provisions designed to 1. Restrict or prohibit uses which are dangerous to health, safety, and property due to water or erosion hazards, which result in damaging increases in erosion around the floods and flood heights or velocities. 2. Requires that uses vulnerable to floods, including facilities which serve such uses, be protected against flood damage at the time of initial construction. 3. Control the alteration of natural floodplains, stream channels, and natural protective barriers, which are involved in the accommodation of flood waters. 4. Control filing, grading, dredging, and other development which may increase erosion or flood damage. 5. Prevent or regulate the construction of flood barriers which will unnaturally divert flood waters or which may increase flood hazards to other lands. 6. Make federally subsidized flood insurance available for structures and their contents in the city by fulfilling the requirements of the National Flood Insurance Program. D. Objectives. The objectives of this ordinance are 1. To protect human life and health. 2. To minimize expenditure of public money for costly flood control projects. 3. To minimize the need for rescue and relief efforts associated with the flooding and general undertaken. At the expense of the general public. 4. To minimize prolonged business interruptions. 5. To minimize damage to the public facilities and utilities such as water and gas mains, electric, telephone, and sewer lines, streets, and bridges located in the floodplains. 6. To help maintain a stable tax base by providing for the sound use and the development of flood-prone areas in such a manner as to minimize flood-blight areas. 15202 definitions. Unless specifically defined below, words or phrases used in this ordinance shall be interpreted so as to give them the meaning they have in common usage and to give this ordinance its most reasonable application. A zone means portions of the SFHA in which the principal source of flooding is runoff from rainfall, snow melt, or a combination of both. In A zones, floodwaters may move slowly or rapidly, but waves are usually not a significant threat to buildings. These areas are labeled as Zone A, Zone AE, Zone A1 through A30, Zone AO, Zone AH, Zone AR, and Zone A99 on a firm. The definitions are presented below. Zone A, area subject to inundation by 1% annual chance flood event because detailed hydraulic analyses have not been performed, no base flood elevation or depths are shown. Zone AE and A1 through A30, areas subject to inundation by 1% annual chance flood event determined by detailed methods. Base flood is 1% within these zones. Zone AE is on the new and revised maps and places zones A1 through A30. Zone AO, areas subject to inundation by 1% annual chance shallow flooding, usually sheet flow or on slippery terrain, where average depths are between 1 and 3 feet. Average flood depths derived from detailed hydraulic analyses are shown within the zone. Zone AH, areas subject to inundation by 1% annual chance shallow flooding, usually areas of ponding, where average depths are between 1 and 3 feet. Average flood depths derived from detailed hydraulic analyses are shown within the zone. Zone AR, areas that result from the decertification of a previously accredited flood protection system that is determined to be in the process of being restored to provide base flood protection. Zone A99, areas subject to inundation by 1% annual chance flood event, but which will ultimately be protected upon completion of an under construction federal flood protection system. These are areas of special flood hazard which enough progress has been made on the construction of a protection system, such as dikes, dams, and levees, To consider it complete for insurance rating purposes. Zone A99 may only be used when the flood protection system has reached specified statutory progress for completion. No base flood elevations or depths are shown. Accessory structure, appurtenant structure, means a structure within a floor area of 400 square feet or less that is located on the same parcel of property as the principal structure and the use of which is incidental to the use of the principal structure. Accessory structure shall constitute a minimal initial investment, may not be used for human habitation, and be designed to have minimal flood damage potential. Examples of accessory structures are detached garage, carport, storage sheds, pole barns, and hay sheds. Addition to an existing structure means any wall or roof expansion to the roof perimeter of a structure in which the addition is connected by a common load-bearing wall other than a firewall. Any wall or roofed addition which is connected by a firewall or separated by independent perimeter load-bearing walls is new construction. Appeal means a request for review of the floodplain administrator's interpretation of any provision of this ordinance. Area of shallow flooding means a designated AO or AH zone on the community's flood insurance rate map firm with base flood depth from 1 to 3 feet where a clearly defined channel does not exist, where the path of flooding is unpredictable and indeterminate, and where velocity flow may be evident. Such flooding is characterized by finding your sheet flow. Base flood means the flood having a 1% chance of being equaled or exceeded in any given year. Base flood elevation, BFE, means the elevation of 1% annual chance flood. Basement means that portion of the structure has floors subgrade below ground level on all sides. Boundary river means the part of the Ohio River that forms the boundary between Kentucky and Indiana. Boundary river floodway means the floodway of a boundary river. Building C structure. Community means a political entity that has authority to adopt and enforce floodplain ordinances for the area and its jurisdiction. Community rating system, CRS, means a program developed by the Federal Insurance Administration to provide incentives for those communities in the regular program that have gone beyond the minimum flood management requirements to develop extra measures to provide protection from flooding. Critical facility means a facility for which even a slight chance of flooding might be too great. Critical facilities include, but aren't limited to, schools, nursing homes, hospitals, police, fire, and emergency response installations which produce, use, or store hazardous materials or hazardous waste. Development means any man-made change to improved and unimproved real estate, including but not limited to 1. Construction, reconstruction, replacement of the structure, or any addition to the structure. 2. Installing a manufactured home on a site, preparing a site for a manufactured home, or installing a recreational vehicle on site for more than 180 days. 3. Installing utilities, erections of walls and fences, constructions of roads or similar projects. 4. Construction of flood control structures such as levees, dikes, dams, channel improvements, etc. 5. Mining, dredging, filling, grading, excavation, or drilling operations. 6. Construction and/or reconstruction of bridges or culverts. 7. Storage of materials. Or 8. Any other activity that might change the direction, height, or velocity of flood or surface waters. Development does not include activities such as the maintenance of existing structures and facilities, such as painting, re-roofing, resurfacing roads, or gardening, filing, and similar agricultural practices that do not involve filling, grading, excavation, or the construction of permanent structures. Elevated structure means a non-basement structure built to have the lowest floor elevated above the ground level by means of fill, solid foundation for under walls, filled stem wall foundations, also called chain walls, pilings or columns, posts and piers. The elevation certificate is a certified statement that verifies the structure's elevation information. Emergency program means the first phase of which the community participates in NFIP is intended to provide a first layer amount of insurance at subsidized rates on all insurable structures in that community before the effective date of the initial firm. Existing manufactured home park or subdivision means a manufactured home park or subdivision for which the construction of facilities for servicing the lots on which the manufactured homes are to be affixed, including on a minimum the installation of the utilities and construction of streets, either final site gradient or pouring of concrete pads is completed before the effective date of the community's first floodplain ordinance. Expansion to an existing manufactured home park or division means the preparation of additional sites by the construction of facilities for servicing the lots on which the manufactured homes are to be affixed, including the installation of utilities, the construction of streets, and either final site gradient or pouring of concrete pads. FEMA means the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Flood means a general temporary condition of partial or complete inundation of normally dry land areas from the overflow, the unusual and rapid accumulation, or the runoff of surface waters from any source. Flood boundary and floodway map, the FBFM, means an official map on which the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, or Federal Insurance Administration, FIA, has delineated the areas of flood hazards and regulatory floodway. Flood insurance rate map, FIRM, means an official map of the on which FEMA has delineated both the areas of special flood hazard and the risk-free zones applicable to the community. Flood insurance study, FIS, is the official hydrologic report provided by FEMA. The report contains flood profiles as well as the firm FBFM where applicable and the water surface elevation of the base flood. Flood prone area means in any land area acknowledged by communities means acceptable inundation by water from any source. Flood protection grade is the elevation of the regulatory flood plus 2 feet at any given location, the FFHA. Floodplain means the channel proper in areas adjoining any wetland, lake, or watercourse which have been or hereafter may be covered by the regulatory flood. The floodplain consists of the floodway and the fringe districts. Floodplain management means the operation of overall program of corrective preventative measures for reducing flood damage and preserving and enhancing all possible natural resources in the floodplain, including but not limited to emergency preparedness plans, flood control works, floodplain management regulations, and open space plans. Floodplain management regulations means this ordinance and other zoning ordinance, subdivision regulations, building codes, health regulations, special purpose ordinances, and other applications of police power which control development in flood-prone areas. This term describes federal, state, or local regulations and any combination thereof, which provides standards for preventing or reducing flood loss and damage. Floodplain management regulations are also referred to as floodplain regulations, floodplain ordinance, flood damage prevention ordinance, and floodplain management requirements. Floodproofing, dry floodproofing, is a method of protecting a structure that ensures that the structure, together with the tenant utilities and sanitary facilities, is watertight to the floodproof design elevation with walls that are substantially impermeable to the passage of water. All structural components of these walls are capable of resisting hydrostatic and hydrodynamic flood forces, including the effects of buoyancy and anticipated debris impact forces. Floodproofing, wet floodproofing, is the permanent or contingent measures applied to a structure and/or its contents that prevent or provide resistance to damage from flooding by allowing water to enter the structure. This method is only permitted by variance. Floodproofing certificate is a form used to certify compliance for non-residential structures as an alternative to elevated structures to or above the FPG. This certification must be by a registered professional engineer or architect. Floodway is the channel of a river or stream that in those portions of the floodplains adjoining the channel which are recently acquired to efficiently carry and discharge the peak flood flow of the regulatory flood of any river or stream. Freeboard means a factor of safety usually expressed in feet above the BFE, which is applied for purposes of floodplain management. It is used to compensate for the many unknown factors that contribute to a flood highest greater than those calculated for the base flood. Fringe is those portions of the floodplain laying outside the floodway. Hardship, as relates to variances of this ordinance, means an exceptional hardship that results from a failure to grant the request for variance. Board of Zoning Appeals requires that the variance is exceptional, unusual, and peculiar to the property involved. Mere economic or financial hardship alone is not exceptional. Inconvenience, aesthetic considerations, physical handicaps, personal preferences, or the disapproval of one's neighbor likewise cannot, as a rule, qualify as an exceptional hardship. All these problems can be resolved through other means without granting a variance, even if the alternative is more expensive or requires the property owner to build elsewhere or put the parcel to a different use than originally intended. Highest adjacent grade means the highest natural elevation of the ground surface prior to the start of the construction next to the proposed walls of the structure. The storage structure means any structure that isn't listed on the National Register of Historic Places or the Indiana State Register of Historic Sites and Structures. Increased cost of compliance, ICC, means the cost to repair a substantially damaged structure that exceeds the minimal repair cost and is required to bring the substantially damaged structure into compliance with local flood damage prevention ordinance. Acceptable mitigation measures or elevation, relocation, demolition, or any combination thereof. All renewal and new business flood insurance policies with effective dates on or after June 1st, 1997 will include ICC coverage. Letter of Final Determination, LFD, means a letter issued by FEMA during the mapping update process was established as final elevations, provides new flood map and flood studies to the community. The LFD initiates a 6-month adoption period. The community must adopt or amend floodplain management regulation during the 6-month period unless the community has previously incorporated an automatic adoption clause. Letter of map change, LOMC, is a general term used to refer to several types of revisions and amendments to FEMA maps that cannot be accomplished by letter. These include letter of map amendment, LOMA, letter of map revision, LOMR, a letter of map revision based on fill, LOMRF. The definitions are presented below. Letter of map amendment means an amendment by letter to the currently effective FEMA map that establishes that the property is not located in an SFHA through the submittal of property-specific elevation date. A loan is only issued by FEMA. Letter of map revision means an official revision to the currently effective FEMA map. It is issued by FEMA and changes flood zones, delineations, and elevations. Letter of map revision based on fill means an official revision by letter to an effective NFIP map. A LOMRF provides FEMA's determinations concerning whether a structure or parcel has been elevated on fill above the BFE and excluded from the SFHA. Lowest adjacent grade means the lowest elevation after completion of construction of the ground, sidewalk, patio, deck support, or basement entryway immediately next to the structure. Lowest floor means the lowest elevation described among the following: 1, the top of the lowest level of the structure; 2, the top of the basement floor; 3, the top of the garage floor if the garage is the lowest level of the structure; 4, the top of the first floor of the structure elevated on pilings or pillars; 5, the top of the floor level of any enclosure other than a basement below an elevated structure where the walls of the enclosure provide any resistance to the flow of floodwaters unless A, the walls are designed to automatically equalize the hydrostatic flood forces on the walls while allowing for entry and exit of floodwaters by providing a minimum of 2 openings, in addition to doorways and windows, and a minimum of 2 exterior walls. The structure has more than one enclosed area, each shall have openings on exterior walls. B, the total net area of all openings shall be at least 1 square inch for every 1 square foot of enclosed area. The bottom of all flush openings shall be no higher than 1 foot above the exterior grade, or the interior grade immediately beneath each opening, whichever is higher. And C, such enclosed space shall be usable solely for the parking of vehicles and building access. Manufactured home means a structure transportable in one or more sections, which is built on a permanent chassis and is designed for use with or without a permanent foundation, which when attached to the required utilities. The term manufactured home does not include a recreational vehicle. Manufactured home park or subdivision means a parcel or contiguous parcels of land divided into 2 or more manufactured home lots for rent or sale. Market value means the building value, excluding the land, is agreed to between a willing buyer and seller as established by what the local real estate market will bear. Market value can be established by independent certified appraisal, replacement costs, appreciated by age of building, actual past values, or adjusted assessed values. Mitigation means sustained action taken to reduce or eliminate long-term risk to people and property from hazards and their effects. The purpose of mitigation is twofold: to protect people and structures and to minimize the cost of disaster response and recovery. National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, is the federal program that makes flood insurance available to owners of properties that participate in communities nationwide through the cooperative efforts of the federal government and the private insurance industry. National Geodetic Vertical Datum NGVD of 1929, as corrected in 1929, is a vertical control used as a reference for establishing varying elevations within the floodplain. New construction means any structure for which the start of construction commenced after the effective date of the community's first floodplain ordinance. New manufactured home park or subdivision means a manufactured home park or subdivision for which the construction of facilities for servicing the lot on which the manufactured homes are to be affixed, including at a minimum the installation of utilities, the construction of streets, and either final site grading of the pouring of concrete pads is completed on or after the effective date of the community's first floodplain ordinance. Non-boundary river floodway means the floodway of any river or stream other than a boundary river. North American Vertical Datum of 1988 and ABD 88 as adopted in 1993 is a vertical control datum used as a reference for establishing varying elevations within the floodplain. Obstruction includes but is not limited to any dam, wall, wharf, embankment, levee, dike, pile, abutment, protection, excavation, canalization, bridge, conduit, culvert, building, wire, fence, rock, gravel, refuse, fill, structure, vegetation, or other material in, along, across, or projecting into any water course which may alter, impede, retard, or change the direction and/or velocity of the flow of water, or due to its location, its propensity to snare or collect debris carried by the flow of water, or its likelihood of being carried downstream. 1% annual chance flood is the flood that has a 1% chance of being equaled or exceeded in any given year. Any flood zone that begins with the letter A is subject to the 1% annual chance flood. Physical map revision, PMR, is an official republication of a community's FEMA map to effect changes to base 1% annual chance flood elevations, floodplain boundary delineations, regulatory floodways, and planimetric features. These changes typically occur as a result of structural works or improvements, annexations resulting in additional flood hazard areas, or correction to base flood elevations, or SFHAs. Public safety nuisance means anything which is injurious to the safety or health of an entire community, neighborhood, or any considerable number of persons or unlawfully obstructs the free passage or use in the customary manner of any navigable lake or river, bay, stream, canal, or basin. Recreational vehicle means a vehicle which is one built on a single chassis, 2, 400 square feet or less when measured at the largest horizontal projections, 3, designed to be self-propelled or permanently towable by a light-duty truck, and 4, designed primarily not for the use as a permanent dwelling, but as quarters for recreational camping, travel, or seasonal use. Regular programming is a phase of the community's participation in NFIP, where more comprehensive floodplain management requirements are imposed and higher amounts of insurance are available based upon risk zones and elevations determined in FIS. Regulatory flood means a flood having a 1% chance of being equal or exceeded in any year and is calculated by a method and procedure that is acceptable to and approved by the Indiana Department of Natural Resources and the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The regulatory flood elevation at any location is as defined in 15203B of this ordinance. The regulatory flood is also known by the term base flood, 1% annual chance flood, or the 100-year flood. Repetitive loss means flood-related damages sustained by a structure on 2 separate occasions during a 10-year period for which the cost of repairs at the time of such flood event are on the average equal or exceeds 25% of the market value of the structure before the damage occurred. Section 1316 is a section of the National Flood Insurance Act of 1968 as amended, which states that no new flood insurance coverage shall be provided for any property that the administrator finds has been declared by a duly constituted state or local zoning authority or other authorized public body to be in violation of state or local laws, regulations, or ordinances that intend to discourage or otherwise restrict land development or occupancy in flood-prone areas. Special Flood Hazard Area, SFHA, means those lands within the jurisdiction of the city of Lawrenceburg subject to inundation by the regulatory flood. The SFHAs of the city of Lawrenceburg are generally identified as such on the Dearborn County, Indiana, and Incorporated Area Flood Insurance rate maps dated April 16, 2014, as well as any future updates, amendments, or revisions prepared by the Federal Emergency Management Agency with the most recent date. These areas are shown on a firm as Zone A, AE, A1 through A30, AH, AR, A99, or AO. Start of construction includes substantial improvement and means the date the building permit was issued, provided that the actual start of construction, repair, reconstruction, or improvement was within 180 days of the permit date. The actual start means either the first placement of permanent construction of the structure on the site, such as the pouring of a slab or footings, the installation of piles, construction of columns, and any work beyond the stage of excavation, or the placement of a manufactured home on a foundation. Permanent construction does not include land preparation, such as clearing, grading, and filling, nor does it include the installation of streets and or walkways, nor does it include excavation for basement, footings, piers, foundations, or the erection of temporary forms, nor does it include the installation on the property of accessory buildings, such as garage or sheds not occupied as dwelling units or not part of the main structure. For a substantial improvement, the actual start of construction means the first alteration of any wall, ceiling, floor, or other structural part of the building, whether or not that alteration affects the dimensions of the building. Structure means the structure is principally above ground and is closed by walls and roof. The term includes a gas or liquid storage tank, a manufactured home, or prefabricated building. This term also includes recreational vehicles to be installed on a site for 180 days. Substantial damage means damage of any origin sustained by a structure whereby the cost of restoring the structure to its before damage condition would equal or exceed 50% of the market value of the structure before the damage occurred. Substantial improvement means any reconstruction, rehabilitation, addition, or other improvement of the structure, the cost of which equals or exceeds 50% of the market value of the structure before the start of the construction of the improvement. This term includes structures that have incurred repetitive loss or substantial damage regardless of the actual repair work performed. The term does not include improvements of the structure to correct existing violations of state or local health, sanitary, or safety code requirements, or any alteration of a historic structure, provided that the alteration will not preclude the structure continued designation as a historic structure. Suspension means the removal of the participating community from the NFIP because the community has not enacted and or enforced the proper floodplain management regulations required for participation in the NFIP. The grant of relief and requirements of this ordinance which permits construction in a manner otherwise prohibited by this ordinance, where specific enforcement will result in unnecessary hardship. Violation means the failure of structure or other development to be fully compliant with this ordinance. A structure or other development without the elevation, other certification, or other evidence of compliance with required in this ordinance is presumed to be in violation until such time as the documentation is provided. Watercourse means a lake. Watercourse means a lake, river, stream, wash, channel, or other topographic feature on a river which water flows at least periodically. Watercourse includes specifically designated areas in which substantial flood damage may occur. X zone means the area where the flood hazard is less than that in the SFHA. Shaded X zones shown on recent firms, B zones on older firms, designate areas subject to inundation by the flood with a 0.2% chance of being equal or exceeded the 500-year flood. Unshaded X zones, C zones on older firms, designate areas where the annual exceedance probability of flooding is less than 0.2%. Zone means a geographical area shown on a firm that reflects the severity or type of flooding in the area. Zone A, things A zone. Zone B, C, and X means areas identified in the communities as areas of moderate or minimal hazard from the principal source of the flood in the area. However, buildings in these zones could be flooded by severe concentrated rainfall coupled with inadequate local drainage systems. Flood insurance is available in participating communities, but is not required by regulations in these zones. Zone X is used on new and revised maps in place of zones B and C. Alright, I got it. 15203 general provisions. A, land switches ordinance applies. This ordinance shall apply to all SFHAs and flood-prone areas within the jurisdiction of the city of Lawrenceburg. B, basis for established regulatory flood data. This ordinance protection standards of the regulatory flood. The best available regulatory flood data is listed below. 1, regulatory flood elevation, floodway, and fringe limits for the studied SFHAs within the jurisdiction of the city of Lawrenceburg shall be as delineated on the 1% annual chance flood profiles and flood insurance study of Dearborn County, Indiana, and incorporated areas, and the corresponding flood insurance rate map dated April 16, 2014, as well as any future updates, amendments, or revisions prepared by FEMA with the most recent date. 2, the regulatory flood elevation, floodway, and the fringe limits for each of the SFHAs within the jurisdiction of the city of Lawrenceburg, delineated as A zone on the Dearborn County, Indiana incorporated area flood insurance rate map dated April 16, 2014, as well as any future updates, amendments, or revisions prepared by FEMA with the most recent date shall be according to the best data available as provided by the Indiana Department of Natural Resources, provided the upstream drainage area from the subject site is greater than 1 square mile. Whenever a party disagrees with the best available data, the party needs to replace the existing data with better data that meets current engineering standards. Be considered, this data must be sent to the Indiana Department of Natural Resources for review, subsequently approved. 3, in the absence of a published FEMA map or in the absence of identification on a FEMA map, the regulatory flood elevation, floodway, and fringe limits of any watercourse in the community's known flood-prone areas shall be according to the best data available as provided by the Indiana Department of Natural Resources, provided the upstream drainage area from the subject site is greater than 1 square mile. 4, upon issuance of a letter of final determination, LFD, any more restricted data in the new, not yet effective mapping studies shall be utilized for permitting and construction development purposes, replacing all previously effective, less restricted flood hazard data provided by FEMA. C, improvement location permit. An improvement location permit shall be required in conformance with provisions of this ordinance prior to the commencement of any development activities in areas with special flood hazard. D, compliance. No structure shall hereafter be located, extended, converted, or structurally altered within the SFHA without full compliance with the terms of this ordinance and other applicable regulations. No lane or stream within the SFHA shall hereafter be altered without full compliance with the terms of this ordinance and other applicable regulations. E, abrogation and granted restrictions. This ordinance is not intended to repeal, abrogate, or impair any existing easements, covenants, or deed restrictions. However, where this ordinance and another conflict or overlap, whichever poses a more stringent restriction shall prevail. F, discrepancy between mapped floodplain and actual ground elevations. 1, in cases where there is a discrepancy between the mapped floodplain SFHA on the firm and the actual ground elevations, the elevation provided on the profile shall govern. 2, if the elevation of the site in question is below the base flood elevation, then that site shall be included in the SFHA and regulated accordingly. 3, if the elevation and natural grade of the site in question is above the base flood elevation and not located within the floodway, that site shall be considered outside the SFHA and the floodplain regulations will not be applied. The property owner shall be advised to apply for a LOMA. G, interpretation. In the interpretation and application of this ordinance, all provisions shall be 1, considered as minimum requirements. 2, liberally construed in favor of the governing body. 3, deemed neither to limit nor repeal any other powers granted under state statutes. H, warning and disclaimer of liability. The degree of flood protection required by this ordinance is considered reasonable for regulatory purposes and is based on available information derived from engineering and scientific methods of study. Larger floods can and will occur on rare occasions. Therefore, this ordinance does not create any liability on the part of the city of Lawrenceburg, any other Department of Natural Resources, or the state of Indiana for any flood damage that results from reliance on this ordinance or any administrative decision made lawfully thereunder. I, penalties for violation. Failure to obtain an improvement location permit in the SFHA or failure to comply with requirements of an improvement location permit or conditions of a variance shall be deemed to be a violation of this ordinance. All violations be considered a common nuisance and be treated as such in accordance with provisions of the zoning code for the city of Lawrenceburg. All violations shall be punishable by a fine not less than $10 and not more than $50,000. 1, a separate offense shall be deemed to occur for each day the violation continues to exist. 2, the floodplain administrator shall inform the owner that any such violation is considered willful act to increase flood damages and therefore may cause coverage by a standard flood policy to be suspended. 3, nothing herein shall prevent the city from taking such other lawful action to prevent or remedy any violations. All costs connected therewith shall accrue to the person or persons responsible. 15204, administration. A, designation of administrator. The City Council of the City of Lawrenceburg hereby appoints the zoning director to administer and implement the provisions of this ordinance as herein referred to as the floodplain administrator. B, permit procedures. Application for an improvement location permit in an SFHA shall be made to the floodplain administrator on forms furnished by him or his prior, or him or her prior to any development activities, and may include, but not limited to, the following: plans and drawings of scale showing the nature, location, dimensions, and elevations of the area in question, existing or proposed structures, earthen fill, storage of materials or equipment, drainage facilities, and the location of the foregoing. Specifically, the following information is required. 1, application stage. A, description of the proposed development. B, location of the proposed development sufficient to accurately locate property structures in relation to existing roads and streams. C, a legal description of the property site. D, a site development plan showing existing proposed development location and existing proposed land grades. E, elevation of the top of the plane below floor, including basement of all proposed buildings. Elevation should be in NAVD 88. F, elevation in NAVD 88 to which any non-residential structure will be flood-proof. G, description of the extent to which any water course will be altered or relocated as a result of the proposed development. A hydrologic and hydraulic engineering study is required in any water course changes submitted to DNR for approval, and then the FEMA as a letter of map revision. C-15204C6 for additional information. 2, construction stage. Upon establishment of the lowest floor of an elevated structure or structure constructed on fill, it shall be the duty of the applicant to submit to the floodplain administrator a certification in NAVD 88 or NGVD elevation of the lowest floor as built. Said certification shall be prepared by or under the direct supervision of registered land surveyor or professional engineer and certified by the same. The floodplain administrator shall review the lowest floor elevation survey data submitted. The applicant shall correct the deficiencies detected by such review before any further work is allowed to proceed. Failure to submit the survey or failure to make such corrections required hereby shall be caused to issue a stop work order for the project. Any work undertaken prior to submission of the elevation certification shall be at the applicant's risk. The floodplain administrator shall review the lowest floor elevation survey data submitted. The applicant shall correct any deficiencies detected by such review. Failure to submit the elevation certification or failure to make correction required shall be caused to issue a stop work order for the project. Was that just the same thing? Was that right? Is anybody even listening anymore?
It sounded like repeat to
Yeah.
the top paragraph, the bottom half of it anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That's page 13.
Yeah, it sounds like the bottom of the first paragraph is repeated.
I think
right
maybe it has
below.
something to do with if the work has already started. Yeah. Upon establishment of full flood-proof elevation of the flood-proof structure, it shall be the duty of the applicant to submit to the floodplain administrator flood-proofing certificate. Certification shall be prepared by or under the same direct supervision of a registered professional engineer and certified by the same. The floodplain administrator shall review the flood-proofing certification submitted. The applicant shall correct any deficiencies detected by such review from any further work is allowed to proceed. Failure to submit the flood-proofing certification or failure to make correction required shall be the cause to issue a stop work order for the project. 3. Finished construction. Upon completion of construction, an elevation certification which depicts the as-built lowest floor elevation is required to be submitted to the floodplain administrator. If the project includes a flood-proofing measure, flood-proofing certification is required to be submitted by the applicant to the floodplain administrator. C. Duties and responsibilities of the floodplain administrator. The floodplain administrator and/or designated staff is hereby authorized and directed to enforce the provisions of this ordinance. The administrator is further authorized to render interpretations of this ordinance which are consistent with the spirit and purpose. Duties and responsibilities of the floodplain administrator shall include, but not are limited to, 1. Review of all improvement location permits to ensure the permit requirements of this ordinance have been satisfied. 2. Inspect and inventory damaged structures in SFHA and complete substantial damage determinations. 3. Ensure that construction authorization has been granted by the Indiana Department of Natural Resources for all development projects subject to 15205E and G, 1 of this ordinance, and maintain a record of such authorization, either copy of actual permit, authorization of floodplain analysis, or regulatory assessment. 4. Ensure that all necessary federal state permits have been received prior to the issuance of the local improvement location permit. Copies of such permit authorizations are to be maintained on file with the improvement location permit. 5. Maintain and track permit records involving additions and improvements to residences located in the floodway. 6. Notify adjacent communities and the state floodplain coordinator prior to any alteration or relocation of water courses. Submit copies of such notifications to FEMA. 7. Maintain for public inspection and furnish upon request local permit documents, damage structure inventories, substantial damage determinations, regulatory flood data, SFHA maps, letters of map change, copies of DNR permits, letters of authorization of floodplain analysis and regulatory assessments, letters of recommendation, federal permit documents, and as-built elevation and floodproofing data for all buildings constructed subject to this ordinance. 8. Utilize and enforce all letters of map change or physical map revisions issued by FEMA for the currently effective SFHA maps of the community. 8. Utilize and enforce all letters of map change or physical map revisions issued by FEMA for the currently effective I did just say that, sorry. I didn't mean to read number 8 twice. Number 9. Assure that maintenance is provided within the altered or relocated portion of said water course so that the flood carrying capacity is not diminished. 10. Review certified plans and specifications for compliance. 11. Verify and record the actual elevation of the lowest floor, including basement, of all new or substantially improved structures in accordance with 15204B. 12. Verify and record the actual elevation to which any new or substantially improved structures have been flood-proofed in accordance with 15204B. Stop work orders. A. Upon notice from the floodplain administrator, work on any building structure or premises that is being done contrary to the provisions of this ordinance shall immediately cease. B. Such notice shall be in writing and shall be given to the owner of the property or to his agent or to the person doing the work and shall state the conditions under which the work may be resumed. 14. Revocation of permits. A. The floodplain administrator may revoke a permit or approval issued under the provisions of this ordinance in cases where there have been any false statement or misrepresentation as to the material fact in the application or plans on which the permit or approval was based. B. The floodplain administrator may revoke a permit upon determination by the floodplain administrator that the construction, erection, alteration, repair, moving, demolition, installation, or replacement of a structure for which the permit was issued is in violation of or not in conformity with the provisions of this ordinance. 15205, provisions for flood hazard reduction. A. General standards. In all SFHAs in known flood-prone areas, the following provisions are required. 1. New construction and substantial improvements shall be anchored to prevent flotation, collapse, or lateral movement of the structure. 2. Manufactured homes should be anchored to prevent flotation, collapse, or lateral movement. Methods of anchoring may include but aren't limited to use of over-the-top or frame ties to anchor ground anchors. This standard should be in addition to and consistent with applicable state requirements for resisting wind forces. 3. New construction and substantial improvements shall be constructed with materials and utility equipment resistant to flood damage below the FPG. 4. New construction and substantial improvements shall be constructed by methods and practices that minimize flood damage. 5. Electrical, heating, ventilation, plumbing, air conditioning equipment, utility meters, and other service facilities shall be located at, above the FPG or designed so as to prevent water from entering or accumulating within the components below the FPG. Water and sewer pipes, electrical and telephone lines, submersible pumps, and other waterproof service facilities may be located below the FPG. New and replacement water supply systems shall be designed to minimize or eliminate infiltration of floodwaters into the system. 7, new and replacement sanitary sewage systems shall be designed to minimize or eliminate infiltration of floodwaters into the system. 8, on-site waste disposal systems shall be located so as to avoid impairment to them or contamination from them during flooding. 9, any alteration, repair, reconstruction, or improvements to a structure that is in compliance with the provision of this ordinance shall meet the requirements of a new construction as contained in this ordinance. B, specific standards. In all SFHAs, the following provisions are required. 1, in addition to the requirement of 15205A, all structures to be located in the SFHA shall be protected from flood damage below the FPG. This building protection requirement applies to the following situations. A, construction or replacement of any structure having a floor area greater than 400 square feet. B, addition or improvement made to any existing structure where the cost of the addition or improvement equals or exceeds 50% of the value of the existing structure, excluding the value of the land. C, reconstruction or repairs made to a damaged structure where the cost of restoring the structure to its before damaged condition equals or exceeds 50% of the market value of the structure, excluding the value of the land before damage occurred. D, installing a travel trailer or recreation vehicle on site for 180 days. E, installing a manufactured home on a new site or a new manufactured home on an existing site. This ordinance does not apply to returning the existing manufactured home to the same site it lawfully occupied before it was moved to avoid flood damage. F, reconstruction or repairs made to a repetitive loss structure. G, addition or improvement made to any existing structure with a previous addition or improvement constructed since the community's first floodplain ordinance. 2, residential structures. New construction or substantial improvement of any residential structure or manufactured home shall have the lowest floor, including basement at or above the FPG 2 feet above the base flood elevation. Should solid foundation perimeter walls be used to elevate a structure, opening sufficient to facilitate the unimpeded movements of flood water shall be provided in accordance with the standards of 152.05B4. New construction or non-residential structures. New construction or substantial improvement in any commercial, industrial, non-residential structure or manufactured home should either have the lowest floor, including basement, elevated to or above FPG 2 feet above the base flood elevation, or to be flood-proof to or above the FPG. Should solid foundation perimeter walls be used to elevate a structure, openings sufficient to facilitate the unimpeded movement of flood water shall be provided in accordance with the standards of 152.05B4. Structures located in all A zones may be flood-proof in lieu of being elevated if done in accordance with the following. A registered professional engineer or architect shall certify that the structure as was designed so that below the FPG, the structure and tenant utility facilities are watertight and capable of resisting the effects of the regulatory flood. The structure design should take into account flood velocities, duration, rate of rise, hydrostatic pressures, and impacts from debris or ice. Such certification shall be provided to the official set forth in 15204C12. B, floodproofing measures shall be operable without human intervention and without an outside source of electricity. 4, elevated structures. New construction or substantial improvements of elevated structures shall have the lowest floor at or above FPG. Elevated structures with fully enclosed areas formed by foundation and other exterior walls below the flood protection grade shall be designed to include finished living space and designed to allow for entry and exit of floodwaters to automatically equalize hydrostatic flood forces on exterior walls. Designs must meet the following minimum criteria. A, provide a minimum of 2 openings located in the minimum of 2 exterior walls, having a total net area of not less than 1 square inch for every 1 square foot of enclosed area. B, the bottom of all openings shall be no more than 1 foot high above the exterior grade or interior grade immediately beneath each opening, whichever is higher. C, openings may be equipped with screens, louvers, valves, or other coverings or devices provided that permit the automatic flow of floodwaters in both directions. D, access to the enclosed area shall be the minimum necessary to allow for parking for vehicles, garage door, or limited storage of maintenance equipment used in connection with the premises standard exterior door or entry to the living area, stairway, or elevator. E, the interior portion of such enclosed area should not be partitioned or finished into separate rooms. F, the interior grade of such enclosed area should not be in an elevation at or higher than the exterior grade. 5, structures constructed on fill. A residential or non-residential structure may be constructed on a permanent landfill in accordance with Title 15, Chapter 151, Grading, Excavation, and Fills in the Lawrenceburg Code Book, as well as the following. A, the fill shall be placed in layers no greater than 1 foot deep, but for compacting to 95% of the maximum density obtainable with either the standard or modified Proctor test method. The results of the test showing compliance shall be retained in a file. B, the fill shall extend 10 feet beyond the foundation of the structure before sloping below the VFB. C, the fill shall be protected against erosion and scour during plain by vegetative cover, riprap, or bulkheading. If vegetative cover is used, the slope shall be no steeper than 3 horizontal to 1 vertical. D, the fill shall not adversely affect the flow of surface drainage from or onto neighboring properties. E, the top of the lowest floor clean basement shall be at or above FPG. 6, standards for manufactured homes and recreational vehicles. Manufactured homes and recreational vehicles to be installed or substantially improved on site for more than 180 days must meet one of the following requirements. A, these requirements apply to all manufactured homes to be placed on site outside a manufactured home park or subdivision. And a new manufactured home park or subdivision and an expansion to an existing manufactured home park or subdivision, or an existing manufactured home park or subdivision on which manufactured home has incurred substantial damage as a result of the flood. I, 1. The manufactured home shall be elevated on firm foundation such that the lowest floor shall be at or above FPG and securely anchored to an adequately anchored foundation system to resist flotation, collapse, and lateral movement. 2. Full enclosed areas formed by a foundation and other exterior walls below the FPG shall be designed to include finished living space designed to allow for entry and exit of flood waters to automatically equalize hydrostatic flood forces on exterior wall as required for regulated structures in 152 of 5B4. 3. Flexible skirting and rigid skirting are not attached to the frame of foundation of a manufactured home are not required to have openings. B, these requirements apply to all manufactured homes to be placed on a site and existing manufactured home park or subdivision that has not been substantially damaged by a flood. 1. Manufactured home shall be elevated so that the lowest floor of the manufactured home chassis is supported by reinforced piers or other foundational elevations that are no less than 36 inches in height above grade and be securely anchored to an adequately anchored foundation system to resist flotation, collapse, and lateral movement. 2. Full enclosed areas formed by foundation and other exterior walls below the FPG shall be designed to include finished living spaces designed for allow entry and exit of flood waters to automatically equalize hydrostatic flood forces on exterior walls as required for elevated structures 152 and 5B4. 3. Flexible skirting and rigid skirting not attached to the frame of the foundation of a manufactured home not required to have openings. C. Recreational vehicles placed on a site shall either be 1. Be on the site for less than 180 days. 2. Be fully licensed and ready for highway use. Defined as being on its wheels or jacket system is attached to the site only by quick disconnect type utilities and security devices has been permanently attached additions, or 3. Meet the requirements for manufactured homes as stated earlier in this section. 7. Accessory structures. Relief to the elevation or dry floodproofing standards may be granted for accessory structures. Such structures must be the following standards. A. Shall not be used for human habitation. B. Shall not be constructed with flood-resistant materials. C. Shall be constructed and placed on a lot to offer the minimum resistance to flood of water. D. Shall be firmly anchored to prevent flotation. E. Service facilities such as electrical and heating equipment shall be elevated or flood-proof to above the FPG. F. Shall be designed to allow for the entry or exit flow waters to automatically equalize hydrostatic flood forces on exterior walls as required for elevated structures in 152 of 5B4. 8. Above ground gas or liquid storage tanks. All above ground gas or liquid storage tanks shall be anchored to prevent flotation or lateral movement. This shall be prepared and certified by a professional engineer. C. Standards for subdivision proposals. 1. All subdivision proposals may in accordance with Title 15, Chapter 153, Subdivision Code and Lawrenceburg Code Book. 2. All subdivision approaches shall be consistent with the need to minimize flood damage. 3. All subdivision approaches shall have public utilities facilities such as sewer, gas, electrical, and water systems located in construction to minimize flood damage. 4. All subdivision approaches shall have adequate drainage provided to reduce exposure to flood hazards. 5. But base flood elevation here shall be provided for the subdivision proposed in local proposed development, including manufactured home parks and subdivisions which is greater than the lesser of 50 lots or 5 acres. 6. All subdivision proposals shall minimize development in FHA or limit the density of development permitted in FHA. 7. All subdivision proposals shall ensure safe access into out of SFHA for pedestrian vehicles, especially emergency responders. B. Critical facility. Construction of new critical facility shall be, to the extent possible, located outside the limits of the SFHA. Construction of new critical facilities shall be permissible within the SFHA if no feasible alternative site is available. Critical facilities constructed within the SFHA shall have the lowest floor elevated to or above the FPG at the site. Floodproofing and sealing measures must be taken to ensure that toxic substances will not be displaced by or released into flood waters. Access routes elevated to or above the FPG shall be provided to all critical facilities to the extent possible. E. Standards for identified floodways. Located within the SFHA established in 15203B are areas designated as floodways. The floodway is an extremely hazardous area due to the velocity of floodwaters, which carry debris, potential projectiles, and has erosion potential. If the site is in an identified floodway, the floodplain administrator shall require the applicant to to forward the application along with all pertinent plans and specifications to the Indiana Department of Natural Resources and apply for a permit for construction of floodway. Under provisions of Indiana Code 1428-1, a permit for construction of floodway from the Indiana Department of Natural Resources required prior to the issuance of a local building permit for any excavation, deposit, construction, or obstruction activity located in the floodway. This includes landmark preparation activities such as filling, grading, clearing, and paving, etc., undertaken before the actual start of construction of the structure. However, it does not exclude non-substantial addition improvements to existing lawful residences in a non-boundary river floodway. Indiana Code 1428-126 allows construction of a non-substantial addition improvement to a residence in a non-boundary river floodway without obtaining a permit for construction of floodway from the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. Please note that if fill is needed to elevate addition above the existing grade, prior approval for the fill is required from the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. No action shall be taken by the floodplain administrator until a permit or letter of authorization, when applicable, has been issued by the Indiana Department of Natural Resources granting approval for construction in the floodway. Once a permit for construction of floodway or letter of authorization has been issued by the Indiana Department of Natural Resources, the floodplain administrator may issue the local improvement location permit, provided provisions contained in 15205 of this ordinance have been met. The improvement location permit cannot be less restrictive than the permit for the construction of the floodway issued by the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. However, communities more restrictive regulations, if any, shall take precedence. No development shall be allowed which acting alone or in combination with existing or future development that will adversely affect the efficiency of or unduly restrict the capacity of the floodway. This adverse effect is defined by an increase in the elevation of the regulatory flood area of at least 1,500 foot as determined by comparing the regulatory flood elevation of the project condition to that under the natural or pre-floodway condition as proved with hydraulic analyses. For all projects involving channel modifications or fill including levees, the city shall submit the data and request that the Federal Emergency Management Agency revise the regulatory flood data for mapping standard regulations found in 44 CFR section 65.2. For identified if the site is located in an identified fringe, then the floodplain administrator may issue the local improvement location permit provided provisions contained in 15205 this ordinance have been met. The key provision is that the top of the lowest floor of any new substantially improved structure shall be at or above the FPG. G standards for SFHAs without established base flood elevation and/or floodways fringes. 1. Drainage area upstream of the site is greater than 1 square mile. If the site is in an identified floodplain where the limits of the floodway fringe have not yet been determined, and the drainage area upstream of the site is greater than 1 square mile, the floodplain administrator shall require the applicant to forward the application along with all pertinent plans and specifications to the Indiana Department of Natural Resources for review and comment. No action shall be taken by the floodplain administrator to either permit for the construction of floodway include letters of authorization or a floodplain analysis regulatory assessment signed 1% annual chance of flood elevation and the recommended flood protection grade has been received from the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. Once the floodplain administrator has received the proper permit for construction of floodway, including letters of authorization or floodplain analysis regulatory assessment approving the proposed development, the improvement location permit may be issued, provided conditions of the improvement location permit are not less restrictive than conditions received from the Indiana Department of Natural Resources contained in 15205 of this ordinance have been met. 2. Drainage area upstream of the site is less than 1 square mile. If the site of it is in an identified floodplain where the limits of the floodway fringe have not yet been determined, the drainage area upstream of the site is less than 1 square mile, the floodplain administrator shall require the applicant to provide an engineering analysis showing the limits of the floodplain and 1% annual change in flood elevation of the site. Upon receipt, the floodplain administrator may issue the local improvement location permit provided the provisions contained in 15205 of this ordinance have been met. 3. The total cumulative effect of the proposed development when combined with all other existing and anticipated development will not increase the regulatory flood more than 0.14 of 1 foot. It will not increase flood damages or potential flood damages. H. Standards for floodplain areas. All development in known floodplain areas not identified on FEMA maps or where no FEMA map published map is available shall meet applicable standards as required per 15205. 15206, variance procedures. A. Designation of variance in appeals board. The Board of Zoning Appeals shall hear and decide appeals and request for variances from requirements of this ordinance. B. Duties of variance and appeals board. The board shall hear and decide appeals when it is alleged an error in any required decision or determination is made by the floodplain administrator in enforcement or administration of this ordinance. Any person aggrieved by the decision of the board may appeal such a decision to the Lawrenceburg County Circuit Court. C, variance procedures. Same as indicated in Chapter 154 zoning code and Lawrenceburg City Code. In passing upon such applications, the board shall consider all technical evaluations, all relevant factors, all standards specified in other sections of this ordinance, and 1, the danger of life and property due to flooding or erosion damage. 2, the susceptibility of the proposed facility and its contents to flood damage and the effect associated on the individual owner. 3, the importance of the service provided by the proposed facility to the community. 4, the necessity to the facility of the waterfront location where applicable. 5, the availability of terminal locations for the proposed use which are not subject to flooding and erosion damage. 6, the compatibility of the proposed use with the existing anticipated development. 7, the relationship of the proposed use to the comprehensive plan and floodplain management program for that area. 8, the safety of access to the property in times of flood for ordinary emergency vehicles. 9, the expected height, velocity, duration, rate of rise, and sediment of transport of floodwaters at the site. 10, the cost of providing governmental services during and after flood conditions, including maintenance and repair of public utilities and facilities such as sewer, gas, electrical, and water systems, and streets and bridges. D, conditions for variances. 1, variances shall be issued when there's A, showing a good and sufficient cause, B, a determination of failure to grant the variance will result in exceptional hardship, C, determination of the grant of variance will not result in increased flood heights, additional threats to public safety, extraordinary public expense, great nuisances, cause fraud, or victimization of the public, or conflict with existing laws or ordinances. 2, no variance for residential use within a floodway subject to 15205E or G1 of this ordinance may be granted. 3, any variance granted in a floodway subject to 15205E G1 of this ordinance will require a permit from the Indian Department of Natural Resources. 4, variances for provisions for the flood hazard reduction of 15205B may be granted only when a new structure is to be located on a lot of 1/2 acre or less in size contiguous to and surrounded by lots with existing structures constructed below the flood protection grade. 5, variances shall only be issued upon a determination that the variance is the minimum necessary considering the flood hazard to afford relief. 6, variances may be granted for the reconstruction or restoration of any structure invariably listed on the National Register of Historic Places, the Indiana State Register, or the Indiana State Register of Historic Sites or Structures. 7, any applicant to whom a variance is granted shall be given written notice specifying the difference between the flood protection grade and the elevations which the lowest floor is to be built, saying that the cost of flood insurance will be commensurate with the increased risk resulting from the reduced lowest floor elevation, C 15026E. 8, the floodplain administrator shall maintain the records of appeal actions and reporting variances to the Federal Emergency Management Agency or to the Indiana Department of Natural Resources upon request, C 15206E. Variance notification, E. Any application to whom a variance is granted that allows the lowest floor of the structure to be built below the flood protection grade shall be given written notice of the signature of a community official that 1, the issuance of a variance to construct a structure below the flood protection grade will result in increased premium rates of flood insurance up to the amounts as high as $25 for $100 of insurance coverage. And 2, such construction below the flood protection grade increases the risk of life of property. A copy of the notice shall be recorded by the floodplain administrator in the office of the county recorder. It shall be recorded in advance so that it happens in the chain of title of the affected parcel of land. The floodplain administrator will maintain a record of all variance actions, including justification for their issue. F, historic structure. Variances may be issued for repair, rehabilitation of historic structures upon determination that the proposed repair or rehabilitation will not preclude the structure's continued designation as a historic structure, and the variances in the minimum to preserve the historic character and design of the structure. G, special conditions. Upon consideration of the factors listed in 15206 and the purposes of this ordinance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach such conditions to the granting of the variance as it deems necessary to further the purposes of this ordinance. 15207, severability. In any section, clause, sentence, or phrase of this ordinance held to be invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, then said one shall in no way affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. 15208, effective date. This ordinance should be full force and effect on April 16, 2014. Ordained and passed on this 17th day of March 2014 at 7 o'clock p.m. in accordance with that below by the Council of the City of Lawrenceburg. It's 8 o'clock, sorry.
Bobby, she made his motion.
I think you need to read it again.
Oh, no. You owe me.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mike, yeah, just when Leslie, on that part that looks like it's repeated, it's not, that was something on their boilerplate. I took it off because I thought it was a typo. They put it back on. So that is necessary.
I think they're after looking again, it was just felt like I read this again.
Yeah, it's
And
almost,
besides, there are some, especially with budget, generally undertaken. Okay, that makes sense now. This doesn't. There were just, I just saw some comments and some apostrophes that should have been in there, but other than that, good.
Motion approved first reading ordinance number 3, 2014. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to suspend the rules and read ordinance number 3 by title only for the second time.
You sure?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance.
I couldn't believe her.
So ordinance for flood hazard, State of Lawrenceburg, ordinance number 3, 2014.
Motion? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Read ordinance number 3 by title only, 2014 by title only.
So moved.
Ordinance for flood hazard areas for the State of Lawrenceburg, ordinance number 3, 2014.
Motion approved ordinance number 3, 2014, second reading by title only.
Third, final.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion reading, approving ordinance number 3 for third and final reading. Second. All in favor?
That was to approve it, the other one was to read it.
Read it.
We're good.
Read ordinance number 3 third and final reading.
And we did our, and we approved it, we're done.
I forgot to be the longest ordinance.
yeah, and Leslie, I will need a signed copy of that to forward back to IDNR. Once you get all the signatures and initials.
And just, I mean, it's just there are initials, there's a place for your initials at the bottom, and I appreciate you.
We're gonna need a set for, we're gonna need a set for
Take this and then just make sure Mike gets it. Mike, I'll get a copy with.
Yeah, if you want to scan it, send it to me, that's fine too.
Yeah, me too.
Mike Lawrence, bids. Mike, would you fill that out, could you explain what a bid are, which one, so we be prepared?
Well, that was actually addressed at board work.
Okay, so you need it?
Yep.
Just need. Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Holcraft.
Jackie, status, phase 1 grant, PCF.
Chucky left a phase, just one here for phase 1. It's St. Mary's Church. Requested amounts $4,500. Recommended $4,500.
I make a motion that we approve the foundation's recommendation.
Second. All in favor? Official appropriation school on.
This is what Jackie left me as ordinance 2. Does everybody have a copy?
Yeah, you can.
City of Lawrenceburg additional appropriation ordinance, ordinance number 2-2014. Whereas it has been determined that it is now necessary to increase the appropriations in excess of what was originally appropriated in the annual budget. Now, therefore, Section 1, be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Lawrenceburg, Dearborn County, Indiana, that for the expenses of the taxing unit, the following sums of money are hereby appropriated out of the funds named and for the purposes specified, subject to the laws governing the same. Municipal Development Fund, 2800001-411, school loan, $8,900,000. Total Municipal Development Fund, $8,900,000. Total additional appropriation, $8,900,000. Passed by the Common Council, City of Lawrenceburg, Indiana, 17th day of March, 2014.
Motion for the first reading of the ordinance number 2, 2014. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion to suspend the rules, read ordinance number 2, for title only.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Additional appropriation ordinance, Municipal Development Fund, Ordinance 2-2014.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2, 2014. Title only. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Additional appropriation ordinance. Oh, sorry.
Motion to suspend the rules for reading ordinance number 2, 2014 by title only, third and final reading. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Additional appropriation ordinance, Municipal Development Fund, Ordinance 2-2014.
Okay, motion approved 2014, third and final reading.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
There you go. Do you have the original there, or do you want me to get mine?
She's got about 4 copies here.
Designated depository for city money.
Everybody sign.
You want me to send these two around?
And we did decide on US Bank, right?
Yes.
Let me
As far as for,
start these two this way, or?
that's fine.
Last thing on here under Jackie is the ordinance for designating depositories. She actually has this tabled until the next meeting.
Any motion table? Have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And really fall fest contracts.
Yeah, like Mike said, we've already discussed this earlier in the meeting too. I was just going to mention that the city could get out of this Fall Fest contracts with 60-day notice.
Get curbside recycling.
Yeah, I just wanted to check on the status of the curbside recycling because I know I brought it up in 2012 and it was supposed to take place in the summer. Then last year I know some people from the city paid for me to go to New Orleans to a recycling convention. And so I'm just want to see the status of the curbside recycling.
We've got bids on some, the Dearborn County Solid Waste for the grant application for us, they want some money for it. Mike's got bids on trailers.
Well, yeah, what we're doing, we've looked at some, we've had one come down. We're actually waiting for another vendor to bring one of his down. He hasn't got that scheduled yet. Brad may go take a short road trip, look at one, trying to gather as much information as possible so we can generate the bid requirements and the specs so we actually get what we want.
Hold on, at least maybe.
Yeah, we're working on that.
But it's in the works. You got downtown holiday lights.
Yeah, I was wanting to see if sometime this year, I don't know how the board feels about replacing those lights and brackets that go down all the buildings on High and Walnut Street, because I've had a few people complain about them, and then I work on a lot of roofs down here, and then I see like what lights are laying on the roof, and the brackets are broken, and they're yellow. I just want to see if it's city would be interested in replacing those lights.
Are those, I think those are Main Street too.
Are they?
I think they did, yes.
It happened unless they were laying on top of the roof and then the brackets are broke, so the lights can't go in the bracket, so you can't see half of them. At Main Street.
I think Pat did do that. They had a contractor do that for them, I think.
The edging.
Okay.
You want? Old business, Jane Pope, City Council attorney.
It's my belief that the city council needs to be represented by an attorney to make sure that what we do is legal, ethical. Since we haven't had our attorney, I have seen and discovered many mistakes that our present attorney has made. And this is not personally against Leslie, because I like Leslie. She's not prepared, just like with the bid situation where they put the bids through on the geotechnical material testing. That night in the audience, when I asked for the numbers should have been given out. That's the process of an open public bid, that you do give the numbers out so that it's done within the public and nothing can be done or changed behind closed doors. I feel like the contract that they entered into with Paul Murray and entered into with audio video, where they're giving them a 60-day out, is totally ridiculous. Why would you give a company a 60-day out prior to your Fall Fest event? In the past, I know most of the contracts were written up that if they could not perform their duties, that they would see that somebody would replace them, and they would guarantee us that somebody would be on site to provide the rides or to provide the lighting for the stage and the sound. Just all contracts, I feel like, should be reviewed. The way we handle a lot of things over at the clerk treasurer's office, which I have been addressing time after time after time, and things still continue to be done the way they were done, which is not always the correct way. And I make a motion that we want some discussion first here. Has anybody got anything they'd like to chime in on?
Yeah, I do. I've talked to you about this, and I'm somewhat in support of it. I've been waiting on one thing. I'm probably not prepared to vote on it tonight, but I would like to let other council members know that over the past week, I've been contacted where the assistant city attorney was recorded talking about the council and the mayor. He said he's telling this person that he works for the mayor. So that was kind of disheartening to me. So I'm waiting to hear that tape. They tried to email it to me, but it wouldn't work. So sometime this week I'm going to try to get hold of that person and listen to that tape before I vote.
The only thing I had to say about the contracts, before they were only 30 days. I changed it to actually 60 days. So, they were actually less in our favor before I changed it to 60 days. And that's how many of the writers for the acts were also written. And
For
the acts, for any of the acts, the writers for any of the employment, entertainment. I reviewed all of those last year, and they only wanted 30 days, and I insisted at least 60, because the guy told me, the agent told me that they wouldn't do more than 60. So those contracts you're speaking of were tailored after what other, the actual acts were getting as far as.
But also within that contract is if that act couldn't be available, there would be an act there that was of the equal quality or better.
I think the reasoning behind.
Well, I didn't mention anything about the acts. You brought the acts up.
Right.
But, when you give them a 60-day out or a 30-day out or whatever, you need that guarantee that they will have somebody there to replace them in the event that they can't perform that night of equal value or better.
As far as the contracts, and I do know that the executive committee wanted to make sure that they had Mr. Davis, because he's done such a great job over the years. And they wanted to make sure that they had Murray Brothers because, they are the premier amusement ride provider in this area. So, but yeah, I'm not sure as far as the 60 days, whether or not that's enough time to procure another production company or another amusement ride company. But
Whenever you get an out for 60 days, anyway, they should go.
That's why I'm saying, why does she have it in there? She's giving them an out for 60 days.
like I said, those were things that were in the other contracts that I reviewed that have been passed for years by the committee.
I have the old Murray Brothers background. I don't think there's anything about 30 days in there, was there? And the one from 2011, 2012, that was prior to this one.
I'm sure the 60-day out there.
Aaron, what's holding you up on retaining?
I just want to make sure, like I said, this recording, I trust this person, and they're saying I'm the assistant city attorney, they're talking about counsel.
Who is our assistant city attorney, John? Joe Johns? Or what?
Who are you speaking of?
The one that's getting paid, budget for assistant city attorney.
Okay.
Which is your dad,
Yeah.
Mr. Votal?
Yeah.
Mr. Votal or Mr. Johns, he does all of our BCA and planning commission.
Yeah, Mr. Votal still receives a check monthly.
Yes, yes, he still does work.
It's a recording, they're talking about council and the mayor, he's basically, I work for the mayor, so he's working for us then.
Well, I think, I can't speak for him, but I know as far as the context of that meeting, I know exactly which meeting you're speaking of. So, the context of that meeting was to try to get the records back, we won't go into it. We won't get into the public, but all I'm saying is that there was some definite things taken. There was some definite.
I work for the mayor.
Yeah, what record?
He's appointed by the mayor. He's appointed by the mayor. We are appointed by the mayor.
So who's our attorney then?
I try to be everyone's attorney. How many times I've asked all three of you to call me or to visit my office, to discuss things, and that doesn't happen.
And how many times have we requested things of you and never got nothing back or nothing
I don't
changed?
know, Jane, I'm sure you have a list somewhere, but all I'm saying is, I represent the city to the best of my ability.
How many times?
And wait a minute, every meeting, it seems like, it's Ms. Pope puts me down. And I don't say a word, I bite my tongue. And I know that it's not personal, I understand it completely. You want to get your own attorney, that's fine. All I'm saying is, there has to be a two-way street. It's not something where I'm expected to comply or to answer all of your questions if you won't come and talk to me about those questions.
So we only get these on Friday like everybody else. Where you out on Saturday or Sunday? We can only bring them to you on Monday. It would have to be Monday during the day or Monday during the meeting.
Maybe we need to change that, when you all get the things. But the things that you put on there, those are things that you could come to me and talk to me about. The ones that you're putting on the agenda, yeah. The fact that the mayor has required that these be put on the agenda and give some kind of idea of where you're coming from on these ideas, that's the only way that any attorney...
Well, I think city council attorney is self-explanatory.
Well, you have a right in the statute to have your own attorney. There is no doubt about that. Just like the clerk treasurer also has that ability, so...
I think I'm not just for one side or the other. When I get a vote, I don't say anything, but, it can't be possible for you to agree with the mayor on every issue for 2.5 years.
That's true, and I haven't.
Well, I thought an attorney is just supposed to give legal advice, not to advise somebody how to vote.
Advise someone how to vote?
Right. The attorney, I don't care if it's council attorney, city attorney, no attorney is supposed to tell anybody how to vote. They're supposed to advise legal advice.
Okay. I agree.
I've seen a little more than that in several meetings, I think. That's just my opinion.
Well, if I give my opinion that supports one way or the other, how an issue should be, that I feel is in the best interest of the city, and that's what I'll do every time, whatever's best for the city.
Really? Could we talk about how many millions of dollars over poor contracts the city has lost? How many millions of dollars the city has lost over poor contracts that was written by your office?
Okay.
And that is not the best for the city.
Okay.
The best for the city is to look out for their money.
What contracts are you talking about?
Middle Earth.
My gosh, you want me to bring a list back at the next
Middle
meeting?
Earth was not done by our office. That was done by Tom Style, who was in.
Tom Style, let's point the finger at Tom Style. Tom Style won't have a vote. Settle down.
I mean, point him out, because Middle Earth was not prepared by our office, so what's the next one?
Tom Style didn't write the contract. Someone else had to write it.
He wrote the contract.
This city allowed Tom Steidle to write a contract, who's not an attorney, and they passed it through.
Yes.
So you're saying the legislative body that held these seats before we did, let Tom Steidle write a contract, and they passed it?
Yes.
Okay, and legal counsel did not advise them not to before review.
I
didn't
couldn't tell you
give
that.
legal advice of that's a poor
You have to go back and look at
contract.
minutes and meetings. I don't know about that, but I do know that Middle Earth. So what's the next one, Mike?
Well, I can go back, okay, you want to talk about the Snaybelt contract?
Snaybell contract was also written by Mr. Snaybell.
But it passed right by
Under
the
the
city
direction
attorney.
of Mr. Steidle.
But the city attorney's supposed to look out for all these things to make sure that they're done right. And say, hey, Mayor, you can't do this, you can't let Mr. Steidle write a contract.
Okay,
Have
let's
your
talk.
council vote for it.
Let's talk about the firehouse. The firehouse, okay? They get a big old grant, $200,000, right? They don't perform their duties. The way I read that contract, all it says is, hey, if there's a breach of contract, this is what the city has to do if they want it back. It don't say, hey, if they take $200,000 and don't do their job, and they breach the contract, it doesn't come back to the city. No, the city's got to pay to get it back.
No, that's not what that contract says.
It's not?
No, it's not. You misinterpreted that contract.
And wasn't it Mr. Votal that wrote 5 contracts for 5 employees for 5 years? That we put 2 statutes right in front of him before we ever took these seats. We were elected, but before we took these seats, statute 1 says you cannot bind an incoming office for more than 1 year. And you cannot, after your father misrepresented himself. And we finally had to get the proof. I mean, I said, I'm not no attorney. I said, but I know how to read. You're not allowed to bind the incoming office hands for more than 1 year. You're not allowed to have a contract for longer than 1 year because we only appropriate money once a year. I was told by the attorney that was representing Mayor Carr at that time, Jane, there's no way you can bust those contracts. I got those bound up so good they'll never break them. Well, we broke them, didn't we? And weren't they illegally written?
No, but that's already been hashed out.
How about-
corrected, so.
Do we want to talk about raises that was given without appropriations?
And raises that were given that still haven't been paid back? When the State Board of Accounts hasn't been in here yet to do 212. We're into 214. State Board of Accounts has not even been back in 213 to look at 212. I'm scared to death what they're going to find when they look at 212, especially when it comes to those raises, knowing that they were illegally gave them. The people continued to draw their checks and they refused to pay them back.
There was also
Now, what kind of attorney is representing? Okay, what kind of attorney is representing the city to protect us when the State Board of Accounts comes back in and they take us into court?
As far as what you're speaking of, you're talking about, what contracts are you talking about?
I'm talking about the chief of police and the assistant chief of police.
Those were all under grievance procedures at the time.
That has nothing to, grievance and union has nothing to do with legalities. What you did was illegal. And you continue to pay, your father did.
Okay.
Or the mayor did.
Well, that's your opinion, and that was your prior opinion of your prior attorney.
And we also had a lot of stuff on Mrs. Stutz that we had her into the courtroom until we lost one of our council person, and she probably would have been prosecuted. because
Prosecuted, it was a civil case.
a civil case or whatever, she probably would have been guided in the right direction to do the right thing.
And you don't think that she's been guided so far by?
No, because things keep happening. She keeps mailing out invoices that we haven't approved.
And again, that's SBOA is looking into that.
Yes, but still, it was another mistake.
But that's all my fault too.
No, no, but we need an attorney, Leslie, to help us, to make sure we're going in the right
Just like
direction.
you said, you're appointed by the mayor.
Yes.
I have a full-time job, I have to work. I do
He
the
doesn't,
best I
that's the
can.
law work.
And, you know, I think I'm entitled to that.
Okay. And you are, let me just ask you right now, you do not consult regularly with an attorney in town on all of these issues?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
I know what you think, because
Okay.
I have a very good friend that's attorney,
Uh-huh.
but no, I don't.
Okay, because there are some correspondence, you know, that did not come from you.
Okay.
And over again, okay? So,
From what?
as far as the words that were used in this particular correspondence.
Leslie?
Are
I
you
talk about
saying-
stuff with everybody.
Don't have to scream.
Facebook, put it all over, I have nothing to hide.
Okay.
Are you saying I'm not intelligent enough to write those letters that went out?
No, I didn't say that. I just said that the wording used are not, they're not consistent with other correspondence that I've received from Mr. Lawrence, that's all I said. And there
But
are
how do you know
legal
Mr.
cases.
Lawrence wrote it, Mrs. Pope might have wrote it?
I can have anybody to write anything I want. I have that right.
You do have that right, I'm not saying you
Now, when
don't
you
have
can
that
take
right.
my constitutional rights away,
But
let me know.
when you're trying to take the credit for doing all this research, you know, do you have a law degree?
No, I don't, but I tell you what, I got a computer,
Yeah.
and I got a lot of hours, and I can show you lots of emails that I sent and postings on Facebook at 2 and 3
Oh, I
o'clock in the
know, you
morning.
get on Facebook quite often.
Oh, yeah.
What I'm asking is, do you have a law degree? Do you have?
No, I don't, but show me where you proved me wrong. It hasn't happened.
It has, Mike.
Okay.
You just are in denial. At this point,
I'm in
I don't
denial.
have anything else to say.
All right. What's more to the board?
Hey, you know what's a shame? That it's such a fight because nobody wants us to be able to have good legal advice. That's the shame of it. You know something? I got less than 2 more years that I can continue to do what
Get
I've
good
done.
results.
Bully people?
Yes,
You want to talk about
bully.
bullying?
You bully.
Oh my God. Yeah.
All right. Any more discussion, hard on there, or hard on another?
I'll make a motion that we table hiring a city council attorney till the next meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Drug-free policy, let's vote.
In regards to the drug-free policy and talking with Oprah, this was done, I just came across the email, and I know the committee has been meeting. There is a committee set up between the employees and I believe Jane and, is it you and, that's on the committee? You and JR. They are looking at whether or not the whole ordinance, and at the time in February, you guys just went ahead and didn't pass the new ordinance. He says that we can't have a drug-free policy requirement through either a drug-free policy ordinance or submit the language in an employee handbook for reference in your drug-free, tobacco-free environment. So as far as that goes, as long as we do the required amendments to the policy and make sure that it's implemented in the policy handbook, or I'm sorry, the employee handbook, and a copy of that employee handbook is given to each and every employee, then that would be sufficient. So I just wanted to let you all know that. And I'm sure that the committee can come up with the required language, or I can assist in doing so.
Is it common that cities have their employees on a committee to come up with their own drug testing policy?
They just wanted input. Obviously, you're the board that's going to decide what the language is.
Leslie, are you going to be there to kind of guide, well, you or hopefully our new attorney be there to guide us to make sure we do it right? Or will Jenny be in charge of
What is
that?
that?
I don't know, they haven't set up a meeting yet. They had to cancel it because Jenny's little boy got sick.
Yes. Whatever you want.
Has anybody heard any reschedule on that? JR, have you heard a reschedule on that?
Okay, fine, up here. Any comments from the audience? Hearing none, review, discuss, claims, board approval. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion drawn.
Second. Thank you for that hard decision, I appreciate it. Yeah, I seen that. Maybe like that too. Yeah, I